everyone. How are you? Ashley Ahmadzai here. I'm a clairvoyant, a life coach, and manifestation mentor for high performing female entrepreneurs. And I am so excited to do this interview today with my amazing and dear friend, Christina Luna. I help women build their businesses and clear their blocks. And that's one thing. There's this whole other aspect of using astrology and partnering with astrology and what is already written in the stars to support us in our business, to support us as we navigate releasing the blocks that are showing up for us. And when I met Christina Luna, like I'm so honored to do this interview. When I met her, my mind was completely blown and it opened me up in such a beautiful and profound way. It's not just Ashley doing and Ashley being, it's Ashley co-creating with the universe, with the stars. And so Christina, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's such an honor to be here too. Your feedback and our conversations since then have really driven home to me how important it is for women to really acknowledge their voice on this planet and the way that our voices can serve each other in such unique and profound ways. And so the fact that I'm able to show up with you in this capacity, it's just such an honor for me as well. So thank you.
Yes, of course. And we have amazing work to do in this world together. I'm going to share with you guys how Christina and I even met because it's so serendipitous and perfect in all of the ways. I had a friend who said, "Hey, you should connect with Christina Luna." And I was like, "Okay." And he said again, "You should connect with Christina Luna." And I was like, "Okay." And the third time, he's like, "You should really do it was like a future cast of like the year ahead. So this is like in December of 2020. You should really do a reading." And I was like, "Okay, I trust this person. I'm going to sign up for this random reading with this person that I've never met before." And holy moly, I mean, we're going to share in many interviews to come. This is one of the reports that I got from her. You can see I've like written all over it. Everything that she said was going to happen this year has, which is so powerful, so profound. And then I looked her up later and I was like, "Hey, after this reading, I need to get to know you. Like, let's hop on a Zoom." And here we are today. So you guys buckle up because what I have learned about not only my reading, but what is coming up for the collective is this is a really, really profound time. We have been elevated to a position such as this. What we've been going through recently in 2020 and beyond, what we're witnessing today, it is big, it is profound. And so we got to be ready. Like, why are we experiencing this? It's not just for us to sit back and say, good for them. Interesting. No, we are here to be a part of it. We are here as witness. Like, we are going to be talking about these things that we are experiencing in history to our grandkids and our great grandkids. And I noticed that, having this reading and understanding astrology helps me realize like this is like written in the stars, like this is fate. And so we really should pay attention to it and also notice like how are we meant to show up and to participate. So with that, Christina, we have gone through all last year. 2020 was, wild, crazy, intense, purifying in all of the ways, right? It made us really look inward. And so for 2021, we are noticing this shift of, and I'll actually have you take this away. Before it was us going inward, looking at ourselves. And now this is us participating with the collective. So will you share and elaborate a little bit more on what that means and what we're expecting in 2021?
Of course, yeah. So I'm going to kind of tell this more like a story. Basically, we are living among really big cycles, but if I take these huge cycles and I put them into something that like almost all people have experienced, we can kind of understand on a microcosm scale how when we just acknowledge and focus on our own life and our own abilities of what we can do right now today, that actually affects the grander scale. And the grander scale is set up perfectly for us to just do those things. So even though we're talking about these huge, like cyclical occurrences, these cosmic things, really it all does come down to the individual and the way we relate to the world, the ideas and beliefs that we have when we look outside at our relationships and our place in the world. And so, yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone understands, even though it's at an epic time, the most epic thing we can actually do is tend to our own life in a very conscious, present, and authentic way. And so Last year, the way that the year broke down, I'm just going to recap slightly to get us up to speed. The year had 4 major gates that we had to walk through. And in the first part of the year, it was like we were all given a shiny new bicycle with training wheels on it. And we got on this bicycle and we thought, wow, this is a cool new way to maneuver in the world. And that bicycle represented our ability to manifest our reality, to actually see that there's a correspondence between what we believe and what we experience. So that was the first phase of that. In the second phase, which was like the second quarter, which was pretty much right when the lockdown started, the training wheels were taken off of that bicycle. And basically any weird coping mechanisms we had, or like any strange little like loopholes we had in our ideas of how we create our reality, we were leaning from one side to the other on that bicycle, and we fell down. All of us fell down to a like fear crept in. And when the fear crept in, we created that fear very quickly, and it felt like falling off of a bicycle. And so for that second quarter, especially when all the lockdowns were like fresh, we got to experience like immediately what it was when we would create from fear, and what it was when we kept our cool and created from a space of like faith or higher belief. And there were opportunities for us to get back on the bicycle or cry and just lay on the ground. And so that was the second quarter. Now, when we crossed the third quarter of last year, there were people who decided to get back on the bicycle and really get in their stride. And there were people who also decided that they were not bike riders. Like, I'm not going to be a conscious creator of my reality. I'm actually going to believe that all of the circumstances I'm seeing have a lot of control over my life, and I don't have a lot of choices. And I'm sure that we could have experienced this through the politics. We could have experienced this through mandates. We could have experienced this through any kind of blaming or victim mentality that could have come up during that time. And it was our job to ride our creator bicycle and get some like personal strength and confidence in that arena. And so there were really amazing things that were being manifested at the same time. And like, so that was a time where individually we kind of decided how adept at creating or bicycle riding are we going to be. During the fourth quarter, there was the elections, and there was a lot of stuff going on. The pandemic sort of flared back up. And this was the time I called, like, we all enter a bike race. So no matter if you decided you're a conscious creator or not, no matter if you decided that like you're a total like at will of the circumstances of your life, that all came into play all at once. And so the experiences of the fall were definitely a time that humbled us in that we were like, wow, if I am creating this, if I am like going to step into the conscious creator role of my life, then there are some definite issues that I need to address and I need to come into right relationship with. So we started this year out pretty humble. We started this year out with the veil peeled up, and many people took this as an opportunity to detox, to change habits, to like really take some sobering time out to end relationships or seek therapy or make big changes in lifestyle. And so we kind of, basically, the way I see it, as I look toward 2021, and we're at that halfway point now, we're at this pivotal moment in 2021. The first half of the year was like going on a dieta, or like a real like honoring ceremonial step-by-step physical process of tending to the physical body, tending to the practicalities of our lives, understanding that we are responsible for creating the sustainability that we need, and that the earth needs, and that our relationship needs. Like we are responsible for doing that. No one's going to do that for us. And so there was like a global realization of, I need to take responsibility for these things. And I know that there's more, that I have things that if I'm going to walk into the dreams and visions that I have for the future, that I really need to become the person that is going to be able to stand in that vision. And so taking responsibility for becoming the person was what we did in this first half of the year. And on a metaphorical level, everyone who is alive right now, we are all agreeing to take some cosmic medicine right now.
Mm.
And I see this cosmic medicine in the form of Jupiter entering Pisces. There are a lot of other transits that are happening right now. I could go into specifics about all the transits, but for the sake of brevity and clarity of this conversation, just know that all of the old sacred cows that we've held as universal truths, that we just believed without questioning, all of that has been really strongly tested. And what is becoming more important is, what is our felt truth? What is our somatic experience of truth moment to moment? So we are no longer deciding that just because we've been in a role for a while and that the rules of that role require us to act and be a certain way, we are actually letting that go in favor of, wow, in this moment right now, what feels very true to me is this. And I'm going to speak from that true place. And from this awareness, I do not necessarily need to project really far into the future and protect myself from all of these different things I used to have character traits to protect myself from. Like, I actually can just really be present, really be congruent, really speak authentically from moment to moment to moment, and let all of these old past protection mechanisms and coping strategies and just like old standards for what we thought was like a good life, we're going to kind of let those go in favor of what is more true in this present moment. So yeah, I'm sorry, like I'm just kind of going off, but this is the moment we're in. And I broke down like the actual step-by-step process of what this medicine ceremony experience for the collective actually feels like, step by step through the dates. Like, I broke it down, like, over the next 2 months, this is what this medicine ceremony could feel like. There's always that moment where we're not really sure if anything's going to change at all. And then there's the moment where our ego sort of like shakes and trembles because the way that it's protected us or enacted our character is suddenly being challenged. And we don't even know if that's going to work for us anymore. And so there's the resistance to the ego death. And that can look so many different ways. It can manifest as acne on your back. It can manifest as pain, headaches, anxiety, crying, fear, like addiction. It's just like there'll be this flare up right before we actually surrender to trust. And so we're in that flare up moment right now, leading up to this eclipse on Wednesday. And the eclipse on Wednesday is going to be that it's going to be the final tipping point of that surrender, where we finally see it, where we finally are understanding. And these are long cycles. I'm not saying that some magical thing will happen exactly at 4 a.m. on Wednesday. Like, I'm not saying it will be like that, but I am saying that like we all have a different tolerance level for resistance. And whatever that tolerance level is will depend on how much ease and grace we have going through this process. And everything's set up perfectly. Like, more than ever, what I would love for everyone to take away is that we can absolutely trust that the universe has our back and our life is happening for us, that
Yes.
all of these things are in place, and any type of anxiety that we may be feeling, these are just the death throes of a certain type of ego that has served us for a very, very long time, but is maybe seeing that its way of being days are numbered.
Oh, are you guys like watching this? Are you feeling this so true to your core? I'm gonna be honest, I really struggle with attention, but if you're watching me while she's talking, I'm like, I was literally sitting like this, like a little kid in the front row, because all of this is so true. And it's in it, everyone's translation of it is going to be different, how it like shows up in your life. But some things that you were saying, about like the shedding and the surrendering, right? They say when you feel like you've surrendered, surrender more. And I thought I was like in this process. And then everything's been happening the past couple of months, like you're talking about with the ego death. I actually wrote on my paper the other day, I was like, a part of me is dying right now. And there's like this grieving process about who I once was. And I'm letting her go with peace, kind of like I'm seeing like a leaf, on the river and just letting it go really gently. I'm not trying to like hold it really tight, be like, no, and crunch it up to pieces, but really gently. I feel like we're in this time, just as you were saying, Christina, of like, what is it that we're ready to let go? What is it that we are surrendering right now and allowing ourselves to do that, even if it does feel uncomfortable, even if there is a grieving process. And instead of like dying, which is how I felt, I'm like, part of me is dying. It's surrendering even deeply to who you're yet to come, who you are yet to become, and then also a shedding, which feels so good. And the other thing you said, I mean, all of it that was really standing out to me was like, what does true trust look like? What does true trust feel like? And when you really believe at your core, not just on a conscious level of like, yeah, universe has my back, but like drop your head to your heart and that true knowing, recognition, and trust. That's what we're moving into right now. And like, I can feel it. So when you said Wednesday, like, sweet, because it's been a bit of an uphill journey trying to figure this out. I'm like, what's going on? Trying to logically, I'm eating healthy, I'm sleeping, I'm doing this. So if you guys are feeling this too, like I'm doing all of the things and it's not working because there's so much more that's going on. And it's not only outward, but it's inward. Just like Christina was saying in the beginning, like dropping our head to our heart. What is that truth there? And just surrendering. It's kind of like waiting. It's just gently waiting in a peaceful space, not out of fear. I'm seeing in this visual kind of like a tornado going over, around you, and you're like down below, and it can feel really scary of what's going on. And we can choose to be scared and what's going to happen. And what if I lose this? What if I don't manifest that? But the truth is, just be still. Like the universe has your back, everything's happening. And even crazy things like tornadoes, like we feel like things are falling apart, that chaos is helps us clean and rebuild something even more beautiful. So in that, it's written in the stars as well. Hopefully none of you guys are feeling like a tornado is coming through your house, but energetically, that's kind of how I have felt. I'm like, I'm just going to be under my covers while this passes. But
Yeah.
it's now it's in the stars. Like, trust, it's okay. This too shall pass.
Yeah. So there are generations that are actually responsible for holding a future vision, holding it so clearly, and it's so ideal and it's so beautiful. And it does not seem like it's happening right now for many, many people, except that we have it in our hearts. We can see it. Like, we know that this is that we are here on this planet to experience that ideal that we see in our hearts. So sometimes during times like this, it can feel like, wow, like this is really far away from the vision that I was anticipating. And am I in any way delusional about that? Because the way my experience is not congruent with the vision I'm having. But we all need to remember this is a long game. This is a long game. We're living in an age where things can happen so quickly. We can manifest everything so fast. And there are some tangible, real, like social changes, economical changes, structural changes that are going to be happening for our planet, creating the world that we've all come here to experience. And as we as individuals go through this process of surrender and shedding, we're literally changing our value systems on a fundamental foundational level. And as we change our value systems, that changes the way that we spend our money, that changes the way we spend our time. It changes all of our energy and focus. And once we do that, the energy and focus that we used to put toward other things, that energy moves away from those things, and those things actually begin to die. And when those things die, there's a little bit of a struggle for our energy to come back. But once we change our values, which is what we're undergoing this year as individuals, once we change those values to values that are based on the harmony and trust of the body, values that are based on like like the most simple things, like how it feels to eat certain food, how it feels to take time with our loved ones in an intimate conversation, rather than how it feels to feel distracted because we're so busy. Like this busy kind of dynamic started going away last year. And our values are like, wow, what do I really long for to experience in my life? Those things are happening on such a fundamental level. And it's like it starts out as an honoring of our preferences. It's that simple. Like it's an honoring of like, I prefer to feel this way over this way. It's so subversive at first, but honoring our desire and our preferences and what brings us pleasure and what actually feels fulfilling, those things start changing all of our behaviors. And when our behaviors change, all of our energy, money, focus, resources actually go toward those things. And it creates this really slow movement from like a real simple example, from like fast food to organic food, from like lots of arbitrary friendships to a couple of very meaningful ones. There's like this movement to this greater, deeper, more fulfilling value system that we're experiencing, and then we're enacting it. And when we enact it, while we're in Gemini season, we start to see the shift. We actually start to see the way that our behaviors are changing our reality. And then there will be this emotional component where we actually are like, wow, I can't even remember what it was like to be the person I was before. And there will be, that, like you're talking about, that grieving period where the old is gone and things are falling away. And so even though what I'm trying to say is we have a future vision, and that future vision will materialize brick by brick, layer by layer, person by person, as we all do this internal evaluation of what it is we truly want to experience in this life. And so the most important thing that we could actually do is learn how to act in accordance with what we truly value.
And part of that starts with, deeply asking ourselves, what is it that we do value? And another question that you had said was, how do I prefer to feel? Because prefer to feel, it's not like, how do I want to feel? Sometimes people are like, I don't know, if you say prefer, if it has this like energy of curiosity and not permanence, it's like, get curious. What is it that you want to feel? What is it that you want to manifest? What kind of relationships do you want to have? So encouraging all of you guys who are watching this, get playful with yourself of what it is that you desire. I do have a question on that. Christina, I've seen somewhere, in my report where it says like, I don't know if it's new moon. I'm new to astrology, you guys. I met Christina and I was like, oh, holy moly, this stuff is incredible, but I'm still learning. New moon or eclipse, like there are these certain very significant moments in time, cosmically, where it'll talk about plant the seed. And then, in 6 months or 3 months or however that time frame is, anything that we planted during that time is going to come to fruition. And so I was like, oh, that's a really interesting concept. And I saw something in the chart recently of like what I planted in December is going to come to fruition now. And I'm like, what was I planting in December? I hope it was like really positive things. And so with this new eclipse that's coming up and all of the amazing transformation and changes that are happening right now, would you say that it is imperative that we get really conscious, head and heart, really mindful about what it is that we're calling in for this year and what it is that we want to shift into? Would you say this would be like a really great time to like journal it out, create your vision board, because we're planting the seed for what is to come?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just fundamentally, like, we consider the sun to be the yang principle, and we consider the moon to be the yin principle. So like masculine, feminine, even though this has nothing to do with men and women at all, it's like the forces of creation, yin and yang, right? So when the sun and the moon are in the same place, so the moon is near the sun during the daytime, we consider that a new moon. That means that the feminine and masculine principles are in the same location. And when those two energies are together, it's really potent energy to plant a seed and create something. It takes both masculine and feminine energies to create something. Like we understand this as common knowledge when it comes to like the sperm and the egg, but energetically each month we have this opportunity where the sperm and the egg come together in the sky. And so we consider that a time where we can plant a seed, where we can actually let something, like we decide, well, what do we want to manifest for the next cycle? So let's say, for instance, the new moon in Taurus we had a couple weeks ago. The new moon in Taurus would have been a seed planted regarding cultivating more of what we now value in order to thrive. So we would have experienced kind of a sense of like, ooh, I need more of something in order to thrive. So there would have, but maybe even felt like a lack. So we can always look at like, what are my discomforts right now? What am I really having a hard time with? What do I need more of? What do I need to put my energy, focus, resources, and attention toward? What do I need to consciously value more of in order to bring this into my world so I can thrive better? So that was the new moon we had in Taurus. Now, that new moon in Taurus will come to a full reflection when we're in Scorpio season. When we're in Scorpio season, we will have a full moon in Taurus. So that means that the sun and the earth, the sun will be in Scorpio and the moon will be on the opposite side of the zodiac in Taurus, and the earth will be in the center of the two. So the masculine feminine dynamic, there'll be dynamic tension between the two of them. So we have an eclipse. Okay, let me just finish that. When we have the masculine feminine with the earth in the middle, that dynamic tension can actually feel like polarity. Like it can feel like desire, actually. Like
Mm,
polarity between masculine and feminine actually feels like seduction. Like it
yeah.
feels like there's magnetism between the two of them because they're far apart from each other. And so the full moons are always moments where we're like, ooh, I'm really seeing, like, I'm being seduced by what it is I'd like to experience more of right now. So we can sometimes, there's like, people go into lunacy during a full moon. Mostly it's because there's usually strong polarities that show up for people in that paradox that we're experiencing the moon in. So now we've got an eclipse on Wednesday. The eclipse this time is between Gemini and Sagittarius. So the sun is in Gemini. Gemini is a place in the sky that rules like the way that we construct our thinking, the way that we navigate the two hemispheres of the brain. So like the subjective and objective realities, abstract and concrete thought. It's like our preferences and opinions. It's sort of like our close to home way that we navigate our own thought process and experiences. So that's where the sun is right now.
Mhm.
Now the moon is over in Sagittarius. And the reason we're having an eclipse is because there are these points in the sky where the sun and the moon are actually really close on the ecliptic. And because they're so close, the sun and the moon and the earth can actually align with each other. We call those nodes. And nodes are considered by astrologers to be points of evolution. It's like where the consciousness, the collective consciousness is evolving their souls in this time. So we have something called a north node, which is like where we're headed. That's in Gemini. So where we're headed right now is valuing our own felt and thought experiences. And where we're moving away from is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is where the south node is. That is in favor, we're choosing our own ideas and our own felt thoughts and experiences over the ones that we learned from our parents, gurus, priests, teachers,
Mhm.
like the old kind of rules that we lived by that maybe felt kind of true, but feel a little bit less true right now because our felt experience is so much realer and rawer.
Yeah.
It's kind of like like an example would be like a teacher tells you that um, grass tastes terrible, and you go outside and you eat grass and you're like, actually grass tastes amazing. So like, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the teacher? You're going to believe your felt experience? Like, are you going to give authority to something that doesn't feel true to you anymore
Yes.
just because they hold some kind of clout? Or are you going to trust that, well, my experience of this is this? And
Mhm.
that's what our evolution is moving through right now. So the eclipse we're having, which is a full moon, that's creating masculine, feminine dynamic tension. The dynamic tension is seducing us to favor our felt experience over any outmoded belief systems that we are maybe still holding on to. Like, I think everyone, if they reflected right now, they can think of some things that their parents told them growing up or some teacher told them that just doesn't feel accurate or true.
Mhm.
And we just are not giving them that authority anymore. We're not giving, it's not the people we're not giving authority to, it's the whole belief system we're not giving authority to.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of reflection this week available to us around, it's okay for me to be wrong about those things because what I feel is so much more right.
Wow, that's a mic drop right there. That is so, so good. Oh, and again, this isn't new information, but it is new because I'm noticing even in my own life, I'm getting, people's interpretations. I've saw even like other practitioners, hey, I'd like support with this. What are you seeing that I don't see? And some of the things that I'm hearing from them, I see it has the best intention, but I'm like, but that's not true for me right
Yeah.
now. And I've been thinking about that because they have the best intention and I know that they're amazing at what they do, but it's like the felt experience of like, that's a little like it kind of missed the mark a little bit, like it didn't fully land. And so, how powerful is that? We're not delegating our power anymore. We're saying hello to where it is right now. So, Christina, I love that we can talk forever and ever and ever because this content is so in this topic. First of all, it's going to be showing up for us every day of our lives. So it's really important to pay attention to, right? Because we can walk through life mindlessly, or we can give ourselves grace and say, oh, right, we're in a retrograde right now. Or, how can I honor whatever it is that I'm calling in? How can I sit with this eclipse and see what's ready to be revealed to me now? So, so good. You have amazing content to share with the world. How can people connect with you? How can people get a taste of your medicine that you drop every week?
Well, I do make videos on YouTube. We can drop the link for my YouTube channel. I have a link tree that pretty much goes to all of my spaces. So how about we just make sure that that link tree link is somewhere accessible. Basically, I do personal readings for people. Natal chart readings can be really illuminating, and the way I do readings is very different from how a lot of other people do readings. It's going to be the yeah. My website is a resource for lots of different things, but primarily it's YouTube, Facebook, and personal readings is how I serve people right now. I am going to be teaching a class on how to actually embody your own natal chart and how to navigate the daily happenings based on like taking a look at our own natal chart and navigating from there. So I will be starting that class next month. And that's something I'll be talking about on my Facebook page and on YouTube as well.
Awesome. If someone wanted to sign up for that, how would they do it? Just through your website or contact you directly?
Yeah, my website will have a page. It's lunation.live is my website. So lunation.live.
So amazing. You guys, this has opened my eyes. I feel like I'm closer to spirit and closer to source because it's not just like, oh, universe has my back. I'm co-creating like Instagram worthy quotes and affirmations. It's like this has helped me open my mind watching Christina's YouTube videos, checking out her website, even just the vibe and the feeling. It's like, oh, right, there's so much more to life than just this. There's so much more to life than just this. And sometimes, even for me, I can get caught as a spiritual entrepreneur. I can get caught up in that. So when I'm like watching these videos, I'm reminding myself, like, oh, right, there's something so much bigger. There's cosmic perfection leading the way. I don't need to take all this responsibility on myself that, I'm going to fail or I have this fear or whatever that is. It's so much more, so much greater. So thank you, Christina, for sharing your medicine with us. Like, my mind is always blown. Please, you guys connect with her Instagram, Facebook, her website for sure. Again, as she had mentioned, so many amazing content and resources, and then definitely her YouTube. I started with all my clients. I would say, what's your sun sign and what's your ascendant? And they'd send it to me, and then I look it up on her YouTube, and we'll send them their sun and their ascendant. Which, fun fact for you guys, like your astro newbies, like myself, I didn't know that how important the ascendant was, and I actually really resonate with my ascendant sign because I'm naturally a Scorpio. But I just didn't realize, oh my gosh, there's all these other layers. So you're going to learn that and so much more by paying attention to her stuff. So with that, was there anything that you would love to leave with our audience today, Christina? Any words of wisdom?
Mostly just every single person that we run into these days, every person we can have a meaningful conversation with, we are all medicine for each other. We're all the most beautiful reflections. And, you know, Ashley, thank you. Like, you called me a couple of days ago, and just by asking, like, how are you and what's happening in your world, it kind of opened up all of this. So my biggest thing I could share is just reach out to your friends and like really ask those questions, and like honor each other's gifts, and open them up by being in service to each other. Like,
Mhm.
that's the best thing that we can be doing right now. It's the most meaningful and fulfilling thing we can do right now.
Yes, I love that. And another thing too, don't be afraid to ask for help, to ask for guidance. That's exactly what I did with Christina. And then I was like, I always get a cellular upgrade every time I have a conversation with her. And so reach out to your friends and find your people now more than ever. They want you as much as you want them, and to have that conversation and see what you guys can create together. So with that, wishing you guys an amazing day full of amazing things, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.